If someone says good morning to you, it's polite to say good morning back. That's the first thing, okay? Second thing is only one person should be miserable here. That person's me, because I'm working. You're on a day off, you're on holiday, you've called a sickie, one of the three. You should be really, really happy. So you need to try and perk me up slightly. If you don't perk me up, this is how your tour's going to go. Nice tower. Yeah, so we'll try that one again, shall we? Good morning!
Good morning!
Welcome to His Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress, the Tower of London, which is a World Heritage Site. Okay, my name is Yeoman Warders, Gary Thine. I'm going to take you on a tour of the tower where I'll point out some of my historic buildings and tell you something of their history, okay? Before we begin though, there are some health and safety points. First couple of rows of you, you're going to feel some precipitation falling upon you, yeah. You may think it's coming from the sky, it might well do later, but more than likely it's going to be coming from this area. Do not worry about it, I'm fully vaccinated, you are perfectly safe, or so they say. I sometimes also flay my arms wildly when I'm talking about the tower, because I get really excited. If I strike you, it's because you're standing too close to me. A bit closer. Now folks, if you've got any children here today, I can see a few in the audience, yes, bad things have happened in and around the Tower of London, and I will be talking about some of those bad things, sometimes in graphic detail. Your children will love it. Okay, but, if you are super sensitive on behalf of your child, then take them away now. You have been warned. So where's the story begin? The story begins way back in the year 1066, when William, Duke of Normandy, who was better known as William the Conqueror, defeated the Anglo-Saxon King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. William was crowned King William I of England on Christmas Day of that same year, but he had to continue to fight his Saxon subjects who did not take too kindly to Norman domination. Now William was looking for somewhere to impress and overawe the citizens of London. He chose a site just inside the eastern city wall where a Roman fort had once stood. In 1078, he authorised the building of its first royal palace and fortress in England. Today we refer to it as the White Tower, and it's behind that wall. Don't bother looking, it's behind that wall. Over the next 200 years, successive monarchs continued to add to the defences. The inner ballium, or defensive wall, containing 13 smaller towers, was completed around 1220. This outer wall was completed in 1280, and it contains 6 further towers, all of which are facing south, to defend against an attack should it come from the river. Now to the north are 2 strong bastions known as Brass and Lakes Mount, inside and on top of which would have been mounted cannon. Boom! To defend the tower against attack from that direction. Now another part of the defensive system was the moat, which we were supposed to be stood in. We're not. Okay, but that was dug during the reign of King Edward I, and it was once filled with water. The moat was some 120 feet wide, and when fully excavated it was 15 feet deeper than it is today. And it was designed to use the tidal flow of the River Thames, and twice a day it would wash in and around the moat and it would flush it clean. Now that system worked rather well at first, but with all the rubbish and the excrement, that's poo, kids, and the wide range of housage in Shoreditch, okay, all that rubbish went into the moat and it became the largest cesspit in London. It was a source of pestilence to all those that lived nearby, especially the soldiers of the Tower garrison. That continued for a very short period, of just 500 years. Yeah, so it took them 500 years to figure out they were getting sick because of the giant open-air toilet on their doorstep. So, in 1843, the then Constable of the Tower, Duke of Wellington, asked permission from Queen Victoria to have the moat drained. Thankfully, it was granted, and the Duke had it filled with sand and shingle to the level it is today and put it to good use as an exercise area and a parade ground for his troops of the Tower garrison. And as I said earlier, this was the first royal palace and fortress of its kind to be built by the Normans in this country. Over the years, however, it has been used in many other ways. It was a citadel to command and defend the city of London. The crown jewels in royal regalia have been stored here since 1303. The Royal Mint was located within these walls, where all the coins of the realm were produced. It was the site of the first royal observatory, studying the stars and the planets until it was moved to Greenwich in the 17th century. It was an armory for the storage of warlike stores and provisions. Official records and papers of the kings and queens' courts were stored here until they moved to Kew in the middle of the 19th century to form the Public Records Office. The royal collection of exotic animals and royal beasts were held here in the Royal Menagerie, or Zoo, until 1835, when they were all moved to Regent's Park to form what we now know as London Zoo. And yes, we did have lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, indeed. And last but by no means least, this must rank as the most famous prison complex in history. A place of murder, torture, and executions. The talking of executions, there's a place that stands at the top of the hill. It is called, you can't see it, there's a big wall in the way. On top of Tower Hill, it is called Trinity Green, and it stands in an area known as Tower Hill, but that was the site of numerous executions between the 14th and 18th centuries. And over the years, no less than 125 men of noble birth were to lose their heads up there by means of the blocking axe. The first victim was Simon Sudbury, Archbishop of Canterbury, who was murdered up there at the hands of peasants in 1381 for daring to introduce a poll tax. 7 years later was the first legal execution on Tower Hill, and that was of Sir Simon Burley, Knight of the Garter. And by remarkable coincidence, the last victim in 1747 was another Simon. Simon Fraser, the Lord Loving, 80-year-old Scottish lord who supported the Second Jacobite Rebellion led by Bonnie Prince Charlie in 1745. Is anybody here called Simon? Odd leave now, Simon. Right, just for a moment, we're going to pause. We're going to imagine the scene up there on a day of execution, okay? Thousands of people would have gathered around a raised wooden platform, the scaffold, to witness the proceedings. There would have been much merriment. Alcohol may have been consumed. It would have been an action-packed, fun day out for the whole family. Now the crowd, they would have been extremely loud. They would be jeering and cheering. They would want to witness this spectacle. Having delivered his final speech and said his prayers, the condemned man would place himself down, his neck resting on a block of oak. He would then give a word or a signal, and the executioner would bring down his axe, hopefully beheading his victim with one stroke. The executioner would then pick up that severed and still bleeding head and hold it aloft for all to see. Special effects, folks. And he would loudly proclaim, "Behold, the head of a traitor, so die all traitors! God save the king! Hurrah! Hurrah!" Right, folks, do you remember that the good morning was a bit of a failure on your part? Remember that? Right, folks, what happened there is, what I expected was a massive cheer, okay? It's called audience participation. Audience participation. Now, I did brief you up on that cheer. Some of you did pick up on that, obviously, but you were mediocre at best. So we're going to try it again, okay? I'm going to explain it a little bit better. I'm going to do my speech about the head, then I'm going to do this, then you're going to cheer it at the top of your lungs, aren't you? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You've paid for your tickets, you're inside, you might as well try to enjoy yourselves, okay? So let's try this one again. I'm going to do my speech, I'm going to do this, you're going to cheer at the top of your lungs. Now you can just cheer, you can say hurrah, you can say God save the king, okay? Any Americans amongst you, if you want to say yee-haw, I will not be offended. Okay, not yet. Not yet. Wait Right, are you ready? Yeah. Are you ready? Here we go. We'll see. The executioner will pick up a 7 steel bleeding head, holding aloft 14, land can be on traitors, so the traitors. God save the king! Better. The head would then be impaled onto a pike and carried through the streets of London to London Bridge, which in those days was the only bridge across the River Thames. The head would be left displayed above the gateway entrance, a sign of the fate that would await all would-be traitors. Meanwhile, the headless corpse would be taken down, placed into a small handcart, brought back inside the tower, would be quickly buried in an unmarked grave in the Chapel Royal of St. Peter and Victor. We're going to make that same journey in a moment, folks, okay? But obviously, some of us are a little bit more alive than that person would have been. Okay, there you go. Right! The place we're standing in now is called the outer ward of the tower, okay? That means we're between the inner and the outer balliums defensive walls. Now the inner wall, it stands 50 feet high in certain parts. The outer wall behind you is 28 feet thick in certain parts. Down there is Mint Street, where all the coins of the realm were designed and produced until 1810. Now the buildings which house the mint are known as the casemates, or houses within the wall. And they not only serve as a museum, which you can go into over there, but they also serve as accommodation for myself and some of my Yeoman Warder colleagues and our families. Yes, as Yeoman Warders of the Tower of London, we do get the privilege of living here. And yes, you guessed it. It is awesome! So over there is a tall, narrow archway. It's known as the Sally Port or the Royal Entrance, beyond which there is a small drawbridge leading out to the King's Stairs, directly accessing the River Thames. Now, rather than travel through the dark, dirty, dangerous streets of London, royalty and nobility would travel in impressive barges along the river. They would tie up alongside those stairs and they would gain access through that archway, which is original and it dates back more than 700 years. It was at that very archway that King Henry VIII so lovingly greeted his second wife, Anne Boleyn, on the eve of her coronation in 1533. But poor Anne was fated to return to the tower just 3 years later. For a very different reason. Through a very different gate. Now this here is the Bell Tower, yeah? Who can tell me then? It's a difficult one. Why it's called, are you ready for this? The Bell Tower! It's got a bell in it! Inside the white belfry on the top contains the oldest surviving curfew bell in the city of London. When it was sounded in alarm, that would have been the signal to close all the gates, lower the portcullis, man the battlements for defence. The bell tower is the strongest of the 13 on the inner wall, and due to its form of construction, it's obvious that prisoners were held within this tower. A man for all seasons, Sir Thomas More, Lord Chancellor of England, was held for 15 months in the lower chamber for refusing to accept King Henry VIII as supreme head of the Church of England. He was to say, I am the King's good servant, but God's first. At the same time, for the very same reason, his good friend John Fisher, Bishop of Rochester, was held in the upper chamber. And both men were to suffer terribly, but neither could be persuaded to abandon their Catholic beliefs, so they were finally let out through those gates and up onto Tower Hill, where they were both publicly beheaded as traitors in the summer of 1535. Now James Scott, the Duke of Monmouth, eldest of the 13 illegitimate children of King Charles II, the Happy King, was also imprisoned in this tower. After the death of his father, 1685, this handsome and popular young man, very much like myself, was persuaded to stake his claim to the throne by virtue of his uncle James II being a Roman Catholic. Now, to press home his claim, he landed from exile in the West Country of England and he marched inland, gathering popular Protestant support in what became known as the Pitchfork or the Monmouth Rebellion. Now the revolt was crushed at the Battle of Sedgemoor on the 6th of July 1685, but James Scott escaped the battlefield. He evaded capture for a week till he was found hiding in a ditch near the town of Ringwood. Condemned to death in his absence, there was no need for a trial, and so 3 days later he was let out and up onto Tower Hill. And that was to be one of the most botched and bloodiest executions ever to have taken place in English history. The executioner, Jack Ketch, used 5 strokes of his axe to dispatch his victim. And even then, the head remains stubbornly attached to the body. So Ketch pulls his butcher's knife from his belt and he proceeds to cut through the remaining skin, tissue and sinew. Blood spraying across his face, down his hand, making the knife slippery. He continues to slice through the flesh. Slicey! 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 Are we there yet? Slicey finally removed the head from the body, but strangely, both the body and the head were brought back inside the tower where they were sewn back together before burial in the chapel royal of St. Peter ad Vicula. Now the reason for this, he was the eldest son of a king. They'd forgotten to get a royal portrait of him. So they stitched his head back onto his body, they dressed him in regalia, and then they propped him into a chair. And they commissioned an artist to paint his portrait, which still hangs in the National Portrait Gallery. It's also believed that the artist did say, "This was the best sitting he had ever taken." Enough of this blood and gore, we must beheading. Folks, that's as good as it's gonna get. Right, let's get around the corner. The traitors get in the bloody tower. Make a gap, use your elbows, because I will. Don't use your elbows, because it's going to be an elbow free zone. Elbow free zone. I might put some shins in there, though. Go for it, come on, I'll be charged.
Keep bouncing. My phone is going too big. So.
All the way around. Come on, some people get over here. Don't just walk to the shortest distance. Get some steps in. Come on, it's good for you. Cheers. Delicious. Right, folks. The reason I'm allowed to drink gin while taking a guidance, I've already mentioned it, okay? We do not have any vocal aids, okay? We do not have any vocal aids, so I need to keep my throat lubricated. Gin is the best thing for that. Gin is also one of your 5 fruit and vegetable portions that we should all be having every single day, okay? Gin is made from juniper berries. Berries are indeed a fruit. There you go. Okay, folks, obviously it'd be highly unprofessional for me to drink gin while taking you on a guided tour, okay? So before anybody goes onto the internet and starts to complain, it's not full of gin, okay? It's not full of gin, it is full of water. It is full of water as mixed with gin. Right, folks, any Americans here? you're very quiet. Unusual. Any Canadians?
Yeah!
There you go, that's how it's done, that's how it's done, that's how it's done. Anyone from Bolivia? Right, folks, the reason I say that, okay, I said it a few months ago, and I had a big group like this, okay, I said anyone from Bolivia, there were two separate couples from Bolivia, okay, and they were like, yeah! It was amazing, it was amazing! Yeah, proud of where they come from, it's all just, and showed it, okay, they did. So, that being said, the next group, okay, you need to pull out your A game, don't you? Okay, there we go. Any Australians?
Yes.
Oh. This is going to make this a lot more easier. Welcome back. Oh, I know, right? Yeah, that's a complaint coming. Never mind. Right, any Europeans? Yeah, go. Any British? Yeah! Anybody say yes twice then? Ooh! Oh, controversial. Anybody from, I don't know, the rest of the planet?
Hey!
Yes, that's the remainder of you, isn't it? Unless you come from a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah!
And in which case... That's all you're going to remember. That's all you're going to... I went to the Tower of London, it was really old. He did a Wookiee impression. Boom. Right. For those standing at the world famous, should I say, infamous Traitors Gate, those on the order to get the first and require a safer, more useful entrance into the tower. Then rather than travel for the narrow and twisting streets of London where convoys could be attacked, stores stolen or prisoners set free, he decided to use the River Thames as a highway. At high tide, a boat could pass through that gate and unload its cargo with safety. Therefore, that gate was originally known as the Water Gate. And yes, Americans! We had it before you! Yes! And ours is a lot less leaks than yours did. Anyway, originally known as the Water Gate, how did it become known as Traitors Gate? Well, the name change occurred during the Tudor period, due to the large numbers of alleged traitors that entered this formidable fortress through those grim gates, among them no less than 3 Queens of England, Queen Anne Boleyn, Queen Catherine Howard, Lady Jane Grey, the 16-year-old uncrowned queen of only 9 days. Now these and many more poor, unfortunate souls would have travelled from their trials over the path through those grim gates and land at these very steps, where they were met by the yeoman jailer and an escort of extremely handsome yeoman warders. They'll be taken through the bloody tower archway behind you to their cell or dungeon to await whatever fate had in store for them. For some, it was a short journey to their places of execution. So behind you then is the infamous Bloody Tower, originally known as the Garden Tower because it overlooked and it gave access to the Lieutenant's Garden. Its name was changed to the Tower of Blood, or Bloody Tower, during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I to commemorate the terrible tragedies that have taken place within. Perhaps the most terrible tragedy of all is the alleged murders of the 2 boy princes in 1483. The 12-year-old uncrowned King Edward V and his 9-year-old brother, Richard, Duke of York, were brought into the tower by their kind and loving uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, for their own safety and in order to prepare for the coronation of the eldest boy. But as soon as their kind and loving uncle had got the boys into the tower, he went to Parliament and he declared them illegitimate and he took the throne for himself, becoming King Richard III. Now the sightings of both of those boys gazing through that upper window and playing in the tower grounds became less and less frequent until they disappeared altogether. Now it's believed by some, not everybody, but by some, that they were murdered in the upper chamber by suffocation with a pillow. Their little bodies bundled down the staircase and hidden beneath a pile of stones. The next day they were secretly buried by an unknown priest underneath the staircase on the south side of the White Tower, where they remained undisturbed for 191 years, until workmen found a large crate containing the remains of 2 children. Experts of the day did indeed declare These were the bodies of the two boy princes who, on the orders of King Charles II, they were placed into an urn designed by Sir Christopher Wren, and they were buried in Innocents Corner, Westminster Abbey, where they remain to this day. In the 1980s, though, they were exhumed and they were tested, okay? They were not tested for DNA, but they were tested. They were aged, they were sexed, and the way that they had died, okay? It all came to about, and then they were reinterred. There's a lot of controversy about those two boy princes, folks, whether they were murdered, whether they were banished, okay? Who had them murdered, who had them banished? Nobody, and I'm saying nobody, knows for sure what happened to those two boys, okay? It's history. You read both sides of the argument and you make an informed decision, okay? That's what you need to do. Now, what we can tell you is that Richard took the throne before those boys went disappeared, folks, okay? Because he classes them illegitimate. That changed the line right there, okay? Then Richard was defeated by Henry VII 3 years later at the Battle of Bosworth. So the line had changed due to battle, okay? Richard III was the last king to die in battle, the last king to actually go into battle, okay? So that's what we know as facts. Everything else is speculation, okay? We don't know because it's history. Okay, hold on. One person does know what happened, one person does know what happened, and that person flies around time and space in a TARDIS, okay? Right, make a gap, we're going to go through an archway, we're going to go up the lane, up the steps. Let's think of it as history, physical education, all rolled into one. It's good if I'm in the lead, and then we're going to know where we're going. Everybody at the front of me now is going to start doing this in a moment. And I'm just going to hang back here because it makes me smile. We're just going to saunter, folks. We don't need to walk quickly. We're just going to saunter.
Didn't they find Richard's third body recently in a parking lot?
A few years ago now. Yeah, it was in the parking lot.
Yeah, I'd like to go back.
He's been where are you all going? Why are you all racing off on that?
I thought he was going to tell us the results of the testing.
What?
Oh, I thought he was going to tell us the results of the testing.
I was ready for him to say that they needed one first. Oh.
Get up and down the stairs, squeeze in. Once you do get up and down the stairs, folks, that's it, come on. Watch yourselves on the stairs, I don't want anybody to fall over. Okay. Right, before we go over there, you hear that? That was video. So that, you better be better than that, folks. I'm telling you for nothing now. Because I'll just hunt each and every one of you down. Right, so we're going to stand here, I'm going to talk about those birds over there. Not the magpie, that's not the mouse there, okay? Got nothing to do with that. Okay? Magpie, good morning, Mr. Magpie. Okay, some bad luck. Mr. Magpie, can you see it? Why didn't you salute it in then? Salute it. Good morning, Mr. Magpie. So, the ravens are in the cage, okay? The ravens are in the cage this morning. They're usually out and about, okay? We've got some vets in, just give them a little check-up this morning. So that's why they're in the cage. Right, the reason we have ravens here is because of legend and superstition, okay, dated back from King Charles II's time, alright? Now, during King Charles II's time, we had the first royal astronomer here, a guy called John Flamsteed. Okay, he worked in the White Tower, worked in the northeast of the turret. It's a round turret, okay? It's where all his important equipment was. We had hundreds of ravens here then, nesting in the trees and in the turrets, okay? Ravens do what ravens do naturally. They were scavenging, they were eating, and then they were hooping all over the place, okay? That's what they were doing. And they were really messing his equipment up. So he went to the king, said, Your Majesty, we need to get rid of these ravens. They're messing that really important equipment up that you've paid for, okay? So the king was going to say yes, okay? But one of his privy council told him of a legend. And he said, the legend goes that if ever the ravens leave the Tower of London, the Great White Tower behind me is going to crumble into dust, the monarchy will fall, and a terrible disaster will befall the country. Okay, so the king said, hey, I don't want that to happen. Not to me anyway, because it already happened to his father, King Charles I, had his head cut off by Oliver Cromwell, made his republic for a very short period of time, about 11 years. Didn't like it much, so then we got our monarchy back, okay? So he thought, right, I don't want that to happen to me. I like being king, all right? I've got 13 illegitimate kids to feed, all right? I like being king. So he said, what are you going to do? You know what you're going to do? You're going to get rid of most of them, but you're going to keep 6 at the tower, okay? We're going to class them as royal birds, and then you're going to look after them, okay? You're going to look after them evermore. See what I did there? Yeah. I know it's never more, but you know, it was a play on words. Okay? Alright, so you're going to look after them, okay? You're going to look after them. So that's why we maintain an establishment of 6 ravens, okay? And that is by royal decree, folks. We still do that. No, it's the 21st century. You think we're superstitious? We're not superstitious. We don't believe in all that mumble jumble, do we? No, of course not. No, we do not have 6 ravens anymore. Have 7 just in case. Right, make a gap, folks. I'm going to come up there. We're going to go up to the steps where AJ was, and then we're going to start from over there again. Still getting away to soldiers. Come on, away! Quick.
Got another.
Come on, folks, let's get in all the way around, come on.
I'm sorry, darling, that was me.
Sorry, I was
I
pushing.
tripped. You got it. Thanks for catching me.
I have surprisingly long arms. Good reach. Come on, folks, all the way around, let's go, come on.
I'm making your way.
Just taking our time in the back, like holiday makers. Can't tell me what to do. Au contraire. Well, have you all turned around and taken a picture of a bridge? It's just a bridge, folks, that's all it is. It's just a bridge!
God.
It's quite a new bridge. Hold on, Americans. Quite an old bridge. That's the last one, right? That's the last one. Right, folks, if you're turning around and taking a picture of the bridge there, I'm just going to give you a top tip about that bridge. This here is my top tip of the day. Yeoman Warders top tip of the day about that bridge, okay? This is a top tip. Listen up, if you're turning around and taking a picture of that bridge, it's a top tip of the day. It's going to be there all day! I will not! Right, oh, you're all going to be looking at the soldiers coming past now, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. Just carry on looking at the soldiers, yeah. Carry on looking at the soldiers, see if anybody gets in their way. That makes me... Wait, just move quicker. Hold your legs, then you'll... Right, there you go. Okay. They are real soldiers, folks, okay? They are real soldiers. They're part of the Queen's Gurkha Signals, okay? Part of the British Army. They're here to guard the royal palaces, okay? Because you are stood inside a royal palace, okay? This is what this place is. Everybody thinks, oh, it was an old prison. No, it's never been a prison, okay? We're a royal palace that happened to have prisoners in at one time or another. You can tell we're never built as a prison because all the keels are on the inside, not the outside.
Right.
Got it?
Yeah.
There you go, folks. There you just put that one to bed right there. Right, we're now standing in what's known as the inner ward of the Tower of London. It's the oldest part of the Tower of London. We actually stood near Tower Green, which is our village green. Unlike many village greens, may have a duck pond or a mill pond or even a cricket pitch or a playground, we have something quite unique. Our very own, wait for it, execution site! How you doing? You all fine? You having a good day? Yeah. Wait back. Okay, that's fine, yeah. Thank you. Well, that glass monstrosity there is not to be confused with a public scaffold outside on Tower Hill. Only 6 people were executed there, but 3 of them were Queens of England. Before we talk about those 3 Queens of England, I'm going to describe some of the buildings that surround us. Behind you in that direction is William's Norman Keep, known as the White Tower, largest in the complex. On orders from William the Conqueror, work began on building it in 1078 under the direction of Gundulf of Beck, and it took 20 years to complete. And yes, I did say Gundulf of Beck. I did not say Gandalf the Grey, okay? It wasn't built by a wizard and a really short workforce. The tower stands just over 90 feet tall. Each corner there stands a turret. If you look to the top of each of the turrets, you will see a gold-plated crown, beneath which is a weather vane which bears the royal standard. They denote that the tower is still indeed a working royal palace. Okay, that's twice I've mentioned it now. A working royal palace, although no longer a royal residence. Okay. All of our kings and queens lived in there for well over 500 years. The last being King James I of England, King James VI of Scotland in 1603. The royal family lived mainly on the top floor. The floor below was a banqueting hall, council chamber, accommodation for knights and their ladies, and it's where the Chapel Royal of St. John the Evangelist is located. The lower floor was occupied by servants and retainers. Now there is one more floor, which is partly below ground level, where stores and provisions were kept. But parts of that floor had a far more sinister use, as a dungeon and a torture chamber, where the rack and other implements of torture were used on poor, unfortunate souls. It was a dark, damp, evil-smelling place, lit only by the candles of the torturers, and no cries of pain or anguish could be heard outside of those thick walls. But have no fear, because if you go down there today, it is brightly lit, and very little trace of its former use remains. But if you dare to venture down there, you will still hear blood curdling screams, because it's a gift shop. Yeah, you wait to see the prices in there. Down there's a lane leads to the entrance to the bloody tower, the scene of the alleged murders of the 2 boy princes. Moving to the right, you see a large black and white L-shaped building. That is the King's House. It is the best preserved Tudor building in the city of London. It dates from 1540. All the others were destroyed in the Great Fire of 1666, starting in Pudding Lane in a bakery about 800 metres that way, okay? That is the home to the Constable of the Tower of London, appointed by His Majesty the King to look after the tower in his stead. As a residence of such a high-ranking man, it has sometimes been used to house some notable prisoners. Queen Catherine Howard spent her last days in there before her execution in 1542. In front of you there is the Beauchamp Tower. Behind that large arch window is the state prison room. If you go in there today, you'll find over 91 inscriptions carved into the stonework, medieval graffiti, some of which date back more than 500 years. On this side, it's the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula. It is open for your general perusal. I do suggest that you go in there today if you get a chance. It is a working royal chapel, folks. As such, gents, take your hats, headdresses off before entering if your religion permits it, okay? Now, 3 Queens of England are buried within that chapel. 2 saints of the Roman Catholic faith also still buried within that chapel. Do go in there, it is a beautiful building, okay? If you are going into the chapel though, I must warn you, there is still a very small threshold step in the doorway, okay? They've tried to make it safe by making it into a ramp, okay? All they've done is made it a lot worse than it was before, okay? So it's in the doorway, it's been there hundreds of years. It will be there as you enter. It will be there while you're inside, and it will still be there when you leave. I've just warned you about it. I can guarantee you, unless 3 of you are going to slip over on that step in the ground beneath you really hard. Looking over on that side, you've got the Waterloo Barracks, erected in 1845. It served as accommodation for over 1,000 soldiers of the Tower garrison. It is now the home for the crown jewels and the royal regalia. It can be entered through an entranceway on the ground level, directly beneath the large gold and black clock. Now look, at the Waterloo Barracks. In the centre, you see a large gold and black clock directly beneath it. On the ground level, there's an entranceway. Written on the entranceway is the Crown Jewels. As we look, you see a line of anticipation waiting to get inside that building. When they get inside the building, they will witness the splendour of the Crown Jewels and the Royal Regalia. Behind you in that direction, there's a signpost. One of the arms on the signpost has a small picture of a crown on it. It also says Crown Jewels. Strangely enough, it's pointing to the centre of the Waterloo Barracks, where you will find a large gold and black clock. And directly beneath it, on the ground level, there's an entranceway. Written on the entranceway is, everyone know what's happening here. So the Crown Jewels, okay, and Royal Regalia, and yes, they are real, are inside that building. So, if you'd like to witness their splendour, then straight after the tour, just go across the square, join the line, and go into the building. Do not... What? Do not come up to me afterwards, any of my colleagues, and ask where they are. Right, let's return our attention to the execution site behind me. Remember, only 6 people were executed there, but 3 of them were Queens of England. We're just going to talk about those 3 Queens of England, okay? First Queen of England to be executed there in 1536 was Queen Anne Boleyn. Now, she had been tried and found guilty on jumped-up charges of adultery, incest, and witchcraft. But she was also charged. I know. She was also charged. Wait for the next bit. She was also charged with high treason, and that was to sign her death warrant. The reason for this. She was overheard talking to a gentleman at court, a musician named Norris. She said to him in a very flirtatious manner, "If my husband was dead, you would have me." No reaction there. No. I know, right? I know. Right. The reason is treason, because she stated that her husband, the King of England, King Henry VIII, she stated as dead. To do that was treason. Okay. Now she had 2 options. She could either be burned at the stake, or she could have her head smitten from her body inside the Tower of London. She chose the latter, but she feared the blocking axe greatly, so she requested that it be carried out in the French manner, with a 2-handed, double-edged sword. A French swordsman was brought over to carry out the execution. The private scaffold was erected just there. No, it wasn't. It was over there, but it's easier for you to look that way, just there. A wooden platform with straw and hay strewn across the surface. Executioner stood on top of the scaffold. His sword, though, was hidden behind him. The Queen climbed the steps onto the scaffold, turned her back to the executioner, got down onto her knees, she bowed her head, and she began to pray. "Lord, have mercy upon my miserable soul." Now, as she did this, the executioner quietly retrieved his sword from its hiding place, and he stood behind the Queen. He said something in the lines of, "Boy, bring me my sword." This startled the Queen from her prayers, and she looked up, and she looked into the gathered crowd stood as you are now. Now, as she did this movement, her neck went into the correct position for the executioner to strike. And strike he did. One swift movement. He removed her head from her body. Now, he quickly retrieved that severed head, he held it aloft, and he showed it to the gathered crowd stood as we are now. As he did this, there was a large gasp from the crowd. Who just said that was good? Really low expectations. Strangely enough, folks, he did this for a second time. Where there was an even larger gasp from every single person in the crowd. The reason for this, he was so swift and precise in his task, the head did not know it was separated from the body. So her eyes were still looking into the crowd, and her mouth was still wording her final prayer. That is documented fact by those that witnessed the execution, okay? I believe it was the High Commissioner from Portugal wrote it in his diary. He was part of the crowd, okay? There you go. Second Queen of England to be executed there was Queen Catherine Howard. Now, she was executed due to her associations with other men, both before and during her marriage to King Henry VIII, but it was to be her alleged affair with Thomas Culpeper, a gentleman at court, that was to be her undoing. On the scaffold site, she told her executioner, "I come here to die the Queen of England, but I'd rather die the wife of Thomas Culpeper. An admittance of guilt or a sweet declaration of love we shall never know." Do you think it was a sweet declaration of love? Yeah, of course it was. It was a sweet declaration of love from a dying queen to the only man she had ever truly loved. Thomas Culpeper didn't think so. He was just back in the crowd going, "No, no!" He didn't last long, folks. He did not last long. Okay, he was actually executed about 3 weeks before she was, but never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Third, final Queen of England to be executed there was the innocent and tragic 16-year-old uncrowned queen of only 9 days, Lady Jane Grey. And she had been a pawn in her struggle for power. After the death of her cousin, King Edward VI, she was declared queen, and she was placed onto the throne by her ambitious relatives, her father and her uncle. Now, she reigned for just 9 days until the rightful heir, Mary Tudor, Bloody Mary, regained the throne by force of arms. Lady Jane and her 19-year-old husband, Lord Guildford Dudley, returned to the Tower of London, sentenced to death for treason. She was imprisoned in number 5, Tower Green, second green door along. From there, she watched from the upper window as her young husband was dragged from the Beauchamp Tower to his execution on Tower Hill. An hour later, she would still be gazing through that window. She would see his headless body being brought back in a handcart for burial in that chapel. But if that wasn't anguish enough for her, she must have witnessed the carpenters preparing her own scaffold site on that very spot for her own execution later that same fateful day, 12th of February, 1554. There are pretty sad stories to leave you with, folks. And I don't want you to walk away from here miserable because you're on holiday. Yay! Yeah, good for you. Yeah. I want you to walk away from here smiling. And I'm going to finish by talking to you about my favourite subject. Me! Not me, folks, Yeoman Warders. Now, I'm one of 35 Yeoman Warders that live and work at the Tower of London. But to become one of us, and we are recruiting towards the end of the year, to become one of us, you have to meet 3 very specific criteria. 1, you have to have a magnificent beard. 2, you have to be extremely handsome. You have to be at least 6 foot tall.
Nice.
Right, that's the wrong thing, don't we? Okay, right. 1, you have to have served in His Majesty's Armed Forces for at least 22 years, okay? That is either the Royal Navy, Royal Marines, the Army, or the Royal Air Force. 2, you have to have reached the rank of a warrant officer, a sergeant major, okay? I was a warrant officer in the British Army in the Royal Artillery. And 3, you have to have the long service and good conduct medal, which is the purple ribbon at the end. And that is for 15 or so years of exemplary, honourable service, or as we like to say, 15 years of not getting caught for any crime. Right. Once you have those 3 things and a position becomes available, you can apply. And if you're fortunate enough to get chosen, you get to become a Yeoman Warder of His Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress, the Tower of London. You get to live here with your family. But better than that, you get to wear this magnificent uniform. And it's a uniform, folks, okay? It's not an outfit. And it's certainly not a costume. We are not actors. It is a uniform based on a Tudor design that was worn underneath armour. On the front is the royal cipher, King's Crown, Carolus Tertius Rex, King Charles III in Latin. We belong to His Majesty. Another question you might be asking yourselves, why do they call you Beefeaters? Yeah, we don't know, so stop asking us the questions. It's a nickname. It was given to us hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It just stuck. Nobody really knows where it comes from. There are lots of different theories, reasons why people think we're called Beefeaters. Nobody actually knows for sure. Okay, one reason is, when we were first formed, we were the personal bodyguard to the king or queen, okay? We still carry out that same role. We are the sovereign's ceremonial bodyguard. You may have seen us guarding our dearly departed Queen Elizabeth II when she lay in state at the Palace of Westminster. We were in our red state uniform on each corner of the catafalque coffin, okay? All right. We also guarded His and Her Majesty during the coronation, on the procession and at Westminster Abbey, so we still carry out that role. Back then, though, we were the personal bodyguard. To keep us fit, strong, healthy, able to protect them, they gave us a daily ration of meat, okay? Meat back then was extremely expensive, usually just for the royalty and nobility. So we were very privileged and getting part paid in that manner. People outside the royal palaces who could not get hold of good food like that, okay, they found out about it and they became jealous. When they saw us outside in our uniforms, they used to start calling us names. Oh, look at those Beefeaters coming over here with their lovely food. Mumbo grumbo, mumbo grumbo. There you go. Look at those handsome Beefeaters. Yeah, so that's what they used to do, folks, and it stuck. Now, our official title is this. I will say it, you will repeat it, and if anybody gets it wrong, we're going back to the start. Ready? Ready? Yeah.
Yes!
Thank you. That's
Sir, yes,
right,
sir.
here we go. Here we go. Yeoman Warder of His Majesty's Royal Palace of Fortress, Tower of London, Sovereign's Bodyguard, Yeoman of the Guard, and Extraordinary. Got it? Just say Beefeater a lot. Right, folks, this almost brings me to the end. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned a bit of the history of this magnificent royal palace and fortress. But before I send you on your way to the crown jewels, and you all know where they are, I'd like to thank each and every one of you today for doing your part. You folks, coming and visit, okay, help us keep the tower in the great condition it's in. That building alone has been standing for nearly 1,000 years, folks. We'd love it to stand for 1,000 years more. So truly, truly, thank you for visiting today. Now, if you do have any burning questions, I'm going to be stood right over there for a nanosecond after the tour. Or you could just ask any one of my colleagues around the tower. If you've enjoyed the tour, then please feel free to cheer and clap.
So should I ask him where the crown jewels are?
Do you want to go get a line for that now? Yeah, let's go. Well, yeah. And then we'll do the other one. Yeah.
We'll go to the...
How important are these rocks to you?
Ja, da war ja auch, ja, da hatte sich die erste.
So, and those are all the suits of armour on the ground floor. But they're all kind of they're both
across the Tower Bridge on the way to
Same in terms of soil, apples,
machen, um das zu bekommen.
If you get to like some like if
We're going. We're going. Yes. Excuse me. We're going.
They're going for lunch. Let's go.
Stage here on the side. Gather up here, please.
That's probably original. That's original. Right? There's nothing new that they restored down there. No, they didn't put the cross on. That's right.
Lever. Then.
I think it'll take about 5 to 10 minutes to take it out of the yeah.
Ty rozumiesz?
Idziemy.
Just so you know, simply flying. It is, yeah.
It appears to be quick. Okay, I know you probably don't want to do it, but I think I'm going to do it.
Okay. What's the black tower?
As opposed to the other one.
Oh, it's a turret. Yeah, that's fine. No, I'm just goofy.
Well, the Queen likes them, even if you go.
Where's the trophy place?
Oh yeah, I did. I got it close to the
Chicago, they died, remember.
I would say that the one cool thing about that is that, like, obviously probably millions of people visit every year, but there's not like a fast pass, like you have to get
Careful now.
go for the idea. I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah. You want a picture with the dog?
So that big fluffy house.
Dang. That's a dang.
He's in tech.
Because if anyone could attack the tower, it would be easier to defend it with them coming down and people coming up. It's a lot harder to go down the stairs. And they don't push the stairs inside.
I think people just want to use the bigger part of the step. They just want to use the bigger part of the step.
And you probably execute it too.
Let's go see some other stuff. Oh yeah.
The only thing I don't like about this case is that the front screen is privacy, so I can't actually see what's on there right now. Wait. That's the guy.
You need to join the tour. So you have to join the tour. What you do there? Thank you. Join the tour at the main entrance, sir. Next one's at 1 o'clock. They're every 30 minutes. Last one's at 3:30. They will bring you to the chapel.
I guess.
Is that too?
I mean, I don't even know which tour it is.
No, that's just where they were executed and then they're buried in Also, that was the thing just to work in. That was the thing that I wanted to see. I didn't know.
Do you want to go up on the wall?
Elder sister and next to Lauren.
What else do you know about Catherine? What do you know about her? Anything? Yep. Yes, she did. She went on lots of other dates apart from Henry. Very good. We'll come back to that. She was a flirt. Yes, indeed. So, let's think about her personality. How she plays.
Idziemy na torturę.
That's the coronation medal for the previous. The coronation just happened this year.
Oh, okay, right.
Oh, also, yeah. Before they
That's gonna be a good picture.
Done.
On the 6th of July, Richard III was crowned king instead of his nephew. His on excellent.
Keep bending, keep bending.
Goes beyond just that line out there.
I'd get on well with it. I wasn't.
Go stairs over there.
Sorry.
the hammer of the Scots. In 1294, he stayed in these rooms while preparing for war. Edward also did much to reform the kingdom, setting up a long-lasting legal system and establishing a parliament that is still recognizable today. Edward married Eleanor of Castile when they were both teenagers. It was a political partnership, not a successful marriage. When Eleanor died, aged 49, he was heartbroken. It was 9 years before Edward married again to Margaret of France. Edward built St. Thomas's Tower, partly using money raised by forcing English Jews to pay higher taxes and exploiting his power over the Jewish community. Like kings before him, he also took advantage of the tower's position in the River Thames, taxing boats that carried goods into the city.
Come next year.
Yeah.
Like silver on the side, added to black. Because this was so long ago.
Yeah.
Let's take a selfie. Looks good showing it in the bridge.
Yeah.
I am ready.
Super.
Where did you say it was? Not back there. Back there?
You want to go forklift? This is all the doors.
Yeah. go through that way, there's like behind this tower.
Skills and qualities, and I'm going to ask you to strike a pose.
Open one.
Yeah, I see it.
Excuse me.
Especially like voting over here. Didn't she do
Yeah.